When you see it from the outside, the small, unassuming structure on Jackson Highway could be described as, well, as nothing special. But on the inside, people use words like magical, mythical, a place of pure music history.
Here we are in the Muscle Shoals sound.
This is it. This is the original 3614 Jackson Highway, Sheffield, Alabama, Muscle Shoals sound.
David Hood was nice enough to give me a private tour of the original, magical Muscle Shoals Sound Studio in Alabama.
The drum booth, Roger Hawkins, that's his office back there.
He's one of the founders of the studio, and even more impressive, a sought-after session bassist and member of the famous Muscle Shoals rhythm section. Simply put, he was part of the greatest songs of the past century.
Looks exactly as it did in 1970, 71, except it's clean.
So when you guys decided to restore it, you said we want to go back to how it looked.
Yes.
So when you open the door, you are like walking into the Muscle Shoals sound where all of that magic happened.
Yes, this is it, and it looks so much like it, other than the lack of cigarettes and ashtrays, but it's great. And it sounds good. We've already recorded here a couple times.
In the late 60s and early 70s, David recorded more than a couple times with the biggest stars on the planet.
When we were originally here, it's such a small place, we didn't tell people when we were recording with any stars or anything, because we didn't want people in the parking lot and people hanging out. And so nobody knew about who we were working with at the time.
Who were some of those artists that came down here to record with you?
The first artist was Cher. She did her first solo album here.
Little known artist.
Yeah, and after that we recorded with Boz Scaggs on the album that has Loan Me a Dime on it that Dwayne Allman played on. The Rolling Stones came and recorded here.
Right here?
Yeah, right here. And the reason they came here is because they were touring in the United States and they didn't have the proper work permits to record. They could play live, but they couldn't record. Well, they found out they could come here and nobody would know they were here. And they recorded Wild Horses, You Gotta Move, and Brown Sugar in about 3 or 4 days.
No way.
And it's the fastest they've ever recorded anything, ever in their career. I mean, we've had so many people here in the 9 years that we were here in this building. We just recorded hundreds of people and many, many hit records, big records.
The list of hit records seems endless, and so are the stories. Every inch of the studio has a memory, including the bathroom.
The bathroom over here is the bathroom, but it's also where Keith Richards completed Wild Horses in that bathroom.
No way!
And that bathroom was also doubled, besides being a bathroom, it doubled as a enclosure or isolation booth for guitars or something. So when you went in there to go to the bathroom, you usually were sitting by an amplifier with a microphone in your face. And you never knew when somebody in the control room wouldn't turn that microphone on. So you had to be careful what you did in there.
I bet there was one too many pranks that went on with that whole setup.
More than one too many. There were many too many. I wrote this after we left here. David Hood was here 1969, 1978, playing bass.
Oh my gosh, so that's you right there, that picture.
That's me with Pop Staples there, and if you see back there, that poster, that's the original poster. Further on back, this little room here, I was sitting here recording, and there were some guys hanging out here. We were recording with Linda Ronstadt, and there were some guys hanging out back here around the Coke machine. They were peeking around the corner, and it was the Eagles, who were her backup band at the time. They weren't the Eagles yet.
They were her backup band?
That's how they started, is they started backing up Linda Ronstadt, and then they became the Eagles. But they were standing back here peeking in, wishing they could be in the studio.
So what room are we walking into now?
This is the control room. This is where the engineers, sound engineers, and producers sit, and the control board where they mix all the mics together and do the recording. This console is not our original console, but this one has a story too. This was at RCA Victor in Nashville, and they used it for many years with a lot of different stars. Chet Atkins took it home with him and had it at his house. After he was retired at RCA, he took it to his house and worked with more artists there. And here's a place where he set his drink. And I'm not sure what he was drinking, but it must have been pretty good to make a mark like that.
That's a pretty hefty mark.
Yeah, and this is an API, analog mixing console, and at that time it was state of the art, and now it's of the period. But it still works, and it still works good.
And so that's why you guys have it here, because I'm sure when people come, do they kind of want to use a little bit
Oh yeah,
of that retro?
oh yeah, they want that.
So you talk about like all this magic really that happened here. So while that was going on, could you feel that there was something really special about recording here, or is it more looking back you kind of recognize it?
I think in the day you felt it. People would come in and they said, "Oh, this place feels great." And I'm always been the cynical type. I said, "Well, it's just a building." But the magic music, the real magic came from the people more than the building. Everybody who was in here, my partners and the other musicians that worked with us, our goal in life was not to make $1 million and not to impress crowds or anything. We wanted to make the best records possible. If we were going to record with Paul Simon, before he came, we'd go listen to other Paul Simon stuff and say, all right, we'll try to beat that. We did that over and over with every artist we worked with, and I think that kind of attitude from people soaks into the walls now. And nowadays people come in and they cry. Grown men cry when they come here because their favorite record was recorded here. Something Leonard Skinner did, or the Stones did, or Paul Simon, or Bob Seger, or any of these people. I think people feel it, and they're very emotional about it once they come in here and see it.